send people to Vietnam to their death. I mean, somebody could say that about me if they wanted. But then after that, I got out of the Army. I had a relatively conventional career in IT and wound up moving to New York City in 1974, right after Nixon resigned, and worked for NBC for a while. And then I moved over to IBM mainframes. And then I was with a group called the 9th Street Center, where the Paul Rosenfels group, where they teach the theory of polarity, which is not really the same thing as gender fluid, but it divides people into more categories, you know. And then because I wanted to get away from a personal situation in 1978, I moved to Dallas, which was very interesting. And then I came back after the company got bought. I worked for a credit bureau, actually. I came back in 1988 and worked for a small healthcare consulting firm. That was interesting. But in 1990, I went to work for Uslyco, which would become Reliostar and ING and Voya. And eventually I lost a job at the end of 2001 after 9/11. But I was in a situation, when gays in the military came up, one of the things that the company did was it sold life insurance to military officers. So I was afraid of a conflict of interest. So I actually arranged to get transferred to Minneapolis to a different part of the company. And that actually went very well. So that if I wrote about gays in the military, frankly, that wouldn't be a problem. But what then did happen later is when I came back, I came home, mother's health was failing. She had surgery. I couldn't actually work in Arlington anymore. I had to work in Minneapolis. That was the agreement. I mean, there were problems with internet reputation before. And when I came back, it was hard to get a job after 9/11. I was 60 years old. I lived at home with mother. She died in 2010. So I kept these websites going downstairs in the basement. I worked as a substitute teacher as a while. And there was an incident when I was working in 2005. I had written some screenplays and so forth. And I wrote a screenplay where a teacher gets in trouble because he allows a student to seduce him. I actually wrote it. There's no sex in the screenplay. But I showed in the screenplay what would happen to somebody if they gave into that. Well, lo and behold, one of the teachers, there was a very bizarre set of circumstances at one of the high schools. And lo and behold, while I was substitute teaching there, a teacher did something, and it followed the model of the screenplay. And so I was asked to leave, not ever go there again. It was a very complicated, I've explained it on the blog. But see, these kinds of things happened before. And that incident at that high school, there was a parallel between that and what happened with Comey and Weiner and everything. There were a lot of very curious parallels with what happened in the 2016 election. And I thought this kind of thing's going to happen again. That happened to me in 2005. This is going to happen again. Well, sure did in 2016. Hillary Clinton. And
wow.
And that kind of incident that happened 12 years ago or 14 years ago is predictive of the kinds of problems we're having today, because people feel they will be enticed to do things, and they will, and this is a real big problem in the real world.